Hi, I'm Randy Robison. This is Life Today, Digital Edition. I'm here with Andy Andrews, who is the author of a new book, well, many books, but this is the one we're talking about, The Traveler's Summit. Good to have you back, man.
Well, thank you. And a printed edition on a digital edition. It's amazing.
But you got this in the digital too, so I can put it on my Kindle.
Yeah, and I've done it audio, so any
it's
format.
Just holding up my Kindle's not near as impressive.
Right,
so,
right, I agree.
This is this sequel to The Traveler's Gift, which came out in 2005. So my first question is, what took you so long?
I didn't really want to write a sequel at first because I didn't have, The Traveler's Gift is about a guy going through a bad time, and he gets to travel through time, meeting with 7 historic people who are also going through a bad time. And so, I thought, a sequel, number one, I can't stand it when, because we have the 7 decisions in this book. I can't stand it when somebody writes the 15 laws of something or another. And then when the book sells, and the 8 additional laws, and the 3 laws I made up yesterday morning.
The number formula worked, let's do it again.
And I couldn't figure out, what are you going to do? Send him 7 more places? I mean,
go to the future.
Yeah, in a way, it's kind of what we did. But he didn't go 7 places. And I figured out a legitimate plot for it. But for a long time, I didn't have anything that I felt was worth teaching or worth putting in there.
So you didn't write it because the publisher said you need to write this, or you thought you could cash in on it?
They tried to get me to write for a long time, and I did. And when I
you waited till you had a message.
Yeah, And when I did it, they didn't even know I was doing it because they'd kind of given up on it.
Good for you.
So I feel like I asked God about the sequel when I finished Traveler's Gift, and God said, "Don't be ridiculous." And then when I finally had the plot and I had what I felt like should be taught, I said, "Well, God, I've already said I'm not going to write one." God said, "Don't be ridiculous. Come on, you got something here." And so I really feel like it's an enjoyable way for people.
So without losing people that aren't familiar with it, because if you haven't read The Traveler's Gift, or The Traveler's Gift, you need to start there. But for those who have read it and loved it, just tell us a little bit, where do we find David Ponder in The Traveler's
David Ponder
Summit?
is now an old man, and his wife has passed away, and he's like a gajillionaire, still living in Dallas, and he's kind of depressed. He feels like his time is over, and he misses his wife, and his daughter and her husband live on the other side of the country. And so one night, the Archangel Gabriel appears to him. Now, Gabriel is the same one who he visited in The Traveler's Gift, the last person. And so Gabriel appears to him, and he says, "You've been selected to lead a Traveler's Summit." Travelers from history are coming together in one place. And we're going to give them one question because, God is not pleased. And he said, "Not pleased about what?" And Gabriel says, "About the way things are turning out." And he's frankly thinking about a rearrangement. And David Ponder said, "What do you mean a rearrangement?" And he said, "Well, the last one you would have known about would have been the flood." Okay, but he's not going to do a flood. He said he wouldn't do a flood against. I don't know what it's going to be, but you guys are going to get one more chance. And so all the, several hundred travelers come into this theater. And so all through the book, we're mentioning, who he's seeing up in that audience. At one point he asked Winston Churchill, he said, "Who is that?" And he said, "Oh, it's the lady pilot. It's the lady pilot, Earhart. You won't believe where she's been." And so, it's different things like that. So down at the table, at the actual summit with all the travelers watching, David Ponder has at the table Winston Churchill, Joan of Arc, King David, Abraham Lincoln, George Washington Carver, and a guy from history that they don't really know who he is until he gets started, and then Churchill knows him by his code name. He was a real guy in World War II that one of the generals at Nuremberg actually said, if it weren't for Erickson, his name is Eric Erickson, and he said if it weren't for Erickson, we would have won. And I'm reading this and I don't know, well, who's Erickson? And so it was months later that I found that Eisenhower, when he was president of the United States, actually said, that was recorded, if it weren't for Erickson, we'd still be fighting the war. So now I'm thinking, who is this guy?
Right.
And so his story is in the book, and it's just astounding. And it's even more astounding that we had never heard of it.
Yeah.
But I had a guy like that in the first book, Joshua Chamberlain at Gettysburg. And I wanted in the second book, I wanted somebody that people didn't know, but they knew the outcome of his work.
I love when you do that. That makes it fun. That makes it a lot of fun. What's the overall message, if you could just kind of...
The message, I had a hard time. I think I had a hard time finding it. I think it took years to find it because of the very reason we have acquiesced our power in society. I think good people have just kind of said, yeah, okay, just take it. I mean, it's amazing to me that the people who really are the tolerant ones in society are like run down the road by people talking tolerance but are not tolerant.
Right.
And so I think we've acquiesced a lot of ground. And so I think people listen to the guys on television, they listen to the politicians, and they listen to the leaders, and it does sound complicated. I told Paul Ryan one time, I'd spoken to Congress, and I said, Paul, I got to tell you, we spent 10 minutes after my talk talking about bow hunting. He showed me his Matthews bow and all of this, but I said, because at that time he had just made this big economic speech, and I said, Paul, you got to do something that we understand. I said, because what you said to me sounded like I'm just like reasonably intelligent. I'm not some really smart person, but I'm not dumb either. And his economic speech, to me, I said it's like a Chinese menu. You look at it, you go, oh, okay, just bring me the egg rolls. You don't even read it.
Right.
And so I think we've acquiesced because we're just tired. God, this whole thing gives me a headache. Yeah. And so it took me a long time to realize that there is a beginning of an answer that everybody will take before they ever find the middle of the answer or the end of the answer, the whole answer. And the beginning of it is to do something. You can't know the answer to everything as you begin. You were not created with the ability to gather enough information to make perfect decisions every time, unless you can tell the future. And the psychic network went out of business. You'd have thought they'd have seen that coming, right? But we are made with the ability to make a decision, then go about the business of making it right. You can't do everything right now, but you can do something right now. And that something that you do will lead you to more information and more ability, and it will inspire other people to move along with you. But we cannot sit behind our television sets with a locked door and just add more bolts to the door as society goes out of control.
Yeah. And tweeting won't really help either.
Right.
Yeah, you got to get out and do something. All right, so now you've got a fun story, because I know how Andy writes, and I have not read this yet, but it's next on the list. And you have some motivation behind it to do something good. So thank you for that. Where do you like people to go? Do you just tell them to go to their booksellers, or you want them to go to your website?
and
Christian Books.
Yeah, Christian Books, Barnes & Noble. Whoever carries it, or go on AndyAndrews.com. I've got a new podcast, and it's once a week. It's called The Professional Noticer. And so we answer questions, listener questions, and and have a great time. It's a professional noticer, and then get it on iTunes or iHeartRadio or
Nice.
YouTube or AndyAndrews.com.
Nice. How's that going? You enjoying that?
It's awesome. We got 12 episodes so far, and I don't know how many total listeners, but we've got listeners in 56 countries. So I'm kind of blown away.
Very cool.
That may be like one listener in 56 different countries.
Do you tell stories?
Yeah.
Because that's I still have a CD. I forget the name of it, but it's one where you talk about baseball.
My Life So Far.
My Life So Far. I mean, that thing. I'm an old, Garrison Keillor, like
Sure.
Woebegone Days fan, and still like that kind of stuff. That is up there with the best because it is wonderful.
Thank you.
So, okay, there's the unsolicited endorsement for everything Andy Andrews, the podcast and all that. So check out the website, check out the new book, and check out Andy when he's on Life Today, the broadcast program. That's the old TV box thing people used to watch.
Non-digital.
Yeah, right. No, actually, it's funny. I say digital, but this is digital too. So,
Yeah.
or the broadcast is digital.
Yeah,
Anyway.
of course. Everything is.
Different host. So you can check that out. That's at lifetoday.org. Thank you for watching and sharing this interview. Be sure to check out the social media for Life Today Television, and you can connect with me on Facebook and Twitter. And if you haven't already subscribed or followed this channel, do it now so you can see more of our great guests.